The state paid millions of dollars for children who were never alive. Not missing, not undocumented, never born. And the payments were approved. This wasn't a paperwork error. It wasn't a software glitch. It wasn't a temporary oversight. Across multiple states, government systems funded daycare centers that never opened their doors. Entire facilities existed on paper only. Classrooms with no noise, attendance sheets with perfect numbers, payments that never stopped. This didn't happen in secret. It didn't require deception at first. It required compliance. The system did exactly what it was built to do. It accepted documentation. It processed claims. It issued payments. It never asked whether care actually occurred. It never verified the presence of a child, because verification wasn't the priority. Dozens of locations, hundreds of licenses, thousands of daily claims. Entire buildings were registered as childcare facilities without hosting a single child. No toys on the floor, no parents at drop-off, no staff schedules posted on walls, no noise, no movement, no evidence of daily care, just numbers. Over $100 million was paid out without a single verified child ever stepping inside these spaces. Not one, not once. And this didn't happen over weeks or months. It continued for years. The scale wasn't hidden. It was visible in plain sight, embedded inside routine reports, budget summaries, and funding renewals. The size of the operation didn't trigger alarms because size alone was not considered suspicious. Volume was expected. At first glance, the paperwork looked clean. Names matched across forms, dates aligned, attendance logs were complete. Every required document existed. Every required signature was present. From the outside, the system looked orderly, regulated, audited, managed. Files were reviewed. Boxes were checked, approvals were stamped, renewals were processed. But the system never asked a critical question. Was anyone actually there? There were no routine headcounts, no requirement for physical verification, no requirement to confirm that a child had been present, fed, supervised, or protected. The paperwork didn't lie. It simply wasn't connected to reality. And because the forms were perfect, the system assumed the care was too. Auditors eventually noticed something subtle. Multiple daycare centers were registered to the same address. Different business names, different licenses, different owners on paper, but the same empty rooms, the same furniture, the same locked doors, the same unopened boxes. One building claimed to house multiple childcare centers. Each center reported full enrollment. Each center billed independently. Each center received payments. The system allowed it because duplication wasn't prohibited. Licensing focused on paperwork, not physical capacity. As long as each entity submitted complete forms, the system treated them as separate operations. Density became profitable. One address, multiple licenses, maximum billing. Here's the only thing that mattered. The state didn't pay for care. It paid for reported attendance. If 20 children were listed, the money moved. If 40 were listed, more money moved. Verification came later, if it came at all. The system was built for speed. Claims were processed quickly. Payments were automated. Delays were considered failures. Accuracy was secondary. Once an entity demonstrated reliability through consistent submissions, scrutiny decreased. High-volume reporters appeared efficient. Efficient reporters were trusted. The system mistook repetition for legitimacy, and repetition was easy to manufacture. So the reports multiplied. The same child appeared at multiple centers on the same day. One classroom claimed 5 full classrooms worth of children. Impossible schedules went unchallenged. No alarms triggered, no payments paused. The system wasn't designed to detect impossibility. It wasn't designed to compare entries across entities. It wasn't designed to ask whether time, space, and staffing could physically support the claims. It was designed to process information, not interrogate it. Reality was expensive to confirm. Paperwork was cheap. So paperwork won. And once reports replaced reality, the system stopped noticing the difference. At this point, something becomes clear. Childcare wasn't the product. Paperwork was. Attendance sheets became inventory. Forms became commodities. Compliance became the deliverable. Empty rooms became profit centers. The absence of children wasn't a flaw. It was efficient. Real care required staff, food, safety standards, and accountability. Paper care required none of that. The system didn't distinguish between the two. It rewarded whichever produced cleaner documentation. And documentation was easier to scale than care. So care disappeared. Real daycare workers operated inside this system. Lower pay, longer hours, actual responsibility. They competed against entities that didn't need staff, didn't need food, and didn't need to meet safety standards in practice. They couldn't match the margins. They lost funding. They closed. Communities lost legitimate childcare options. Families were pushed onto wait lists. Wages stagnated. Turnover increased. The fraudulent centers expanded, not because they were better, but because they were cheaper. The system selected for efficiency, not care, and efficiency favored absence. But the largest payments weren't always tied directly to daycare. Some claims were coded as childcare, but billed as other services. Different labels, same funding stream. Different descriptions, same approval process. Once an entity was inside the system, money moved the same way, regardless of category. The system didn't differentiate between intent and classification. As long as the forms matched the rules, the payments cleared. This wasn't fraud slipping through cracks. It was compliance exploiting design. This isn't about daycare. It's about how America funds care. When money follows paperwork, paperwork becomes the goal. Outcomes become optional. Most of this wasn't illegal. It was compliant, audited, approved, renewed. Fraud didn't hide in the shadows. It lived inside the rules. Daycare was just the entry point. The same incentives exist elsewhere, and the next system moves even more money.